a nice appropriate head setting for this video beneath the big church. Please refer to the disclaimer in the description box below. Did an initial take of this video, but the wind noise was too bad, so I'm doing it again. Here we go, straight into it. It's a pigeon on the rooftop. Gargoyle. Right, so I had this dream within the last 2 months. I forget the exact date. In this dream I was standing on the intersection of Rimu Street and Muratai Road in Eastbourne, the suburb on the east side of Wellington Harbour where I grew up. I'll put a pin in the description box below in Google Maps so you can see where I was in the dream. And Sophia, the Holy Spirit, spoke to me, and God spoke through her to me, and she had a very simple message, and it was just 2 words. She just said simply, golden visas. And it was interesting. It was interestingly enough, it was a nice sunny kind of golden day like today here in Wellington. It's actually the windiest city in the world. That's the national flag flying on top of the Parliament building. Beehive, or as my friend calls it, the wasp nest. Windiest city in the world by average wind speed, but it's the average. It's not windy all the time. It's not that bad, the weather. It's actually a really nice city. But it's not going to be nicer for much longer, based upon what myself and many other people have been shown. I mean, before we even get to the war, we've got all these natural disasters, earthquakes and tsunamis at the same time, and then all these volcanic eruptions, economic collapse, famine, other stuff I haven't talked about on this channel before we even get to the invasion and war. So, and I talk about that on this channel, but I mean, basically myself and others have been shown that every single Western country will be bombed, invaded and nuked in World War III, and we're in the early stages of it. It hasn't been officially declared yet, but based upon what we've all been shown, we're in the early stages of World War III, and it will go for, based upon what we've all been shown again, the consensus is about 20 years. So this was a helpful little nudge from Sophia, the Holy Spirit, to just get moving basically and take action with regards to prepping. So a little nugget of wisdom I'd like to share is it's better to need something and not have it than to have something. It's better to have something and not need it than to need something and not have it. Right? So in this situation, I'm talking about a plan B for World War III, which rhymes, funnily enough. Plan B for World War III. What is your plan B for World War III? And of course, refer to this, as I say in the disclaimer in the description box below. This is, your life, your decisions. It's your responsibility. This is not financial advice. The full disclaimer, all that. But I must say, having said that, I am not sharing any information with you guys that I'm not basing my entire life plan around, and literally betting my life on. So I'm doing everything I share with you guys, and I've been guided specifically to places of safety in World War III, to two South American countries in particular. So there are 2 of the 4 I've talked about on this channel that I've been shown it will be safe zones. So those are, in alphabetical order, Argentina, Chile, Ecuador and Uruguay. And look, you don't want to be stuck in these countries with no money, and no means to leave, and and no choice in some cases if you're a guide, but you'll be forced to fight. You don't want to find yourself stuck. All right. So with that said, with a view to having a plan B and getting one in place, it's advisable to look at options for golden visas because there are actually really good deals going, basically. So from my understanding, like more or less what a golden visa is, it's basically a means, like when I talk about a golden visa here, I'm talking about getting residency in one of these quote safe zone countries on the basis of a financial investment of some kind. So I've looked into this a little bit online. For Ecuador, Argentina, and Chile, I haven't looked into options for Uruguay, but countries all over the world offer options in this regard. And I must say, when I looked at the options available for Chile and Argentina, well, especially Chile, I was actually shocked and surprised to find they were surprisingly reasonable. For Ecuador, they're really accessible and reasonable. I mean, speaking from the perspective of even a working class person in a developed country like New Zealand, you don't even need to be middle class. And these deals, they're reasonable and accessible. Like, I mean, I think in Ecuador, like one of the options for a golden visa, like basically residency, they'll give you residency if you can prove that you have an income that is more than 2 times the monthly minimum salary, which is something like $410 a month last time I checked. So it works out to between 800 and 1,000 American dollars a month, and either passive income or you can just if living on just pension money. I don't know what they call it in the US, but money that you get from retirement funds just for living, to live on in your old age. There's many seniors, elderly people, and although it's funny, there's a Western stigma around calling people old. It's like being old is a bad thing, which I think it's a bit strange. It's sort of, I mean, it's just, there's good and bad things about every stage of life, and it's getting upset about getting old is like getting upset about the sun going down. These are just cycles of life, and so I don't really know why there's a stigma around it. It's a bit weird and ageist. I think it's primarily because Western civilization in its current form, which is at least in the Anglo-Saxon countries, incredibly spiritually degraded and degenerate. It's overly focused on the physical and the material. So if you're not young and beautiful, or you're not valuable, that's kind of the perspective. Like Spain's better in this regard. Europe's better in this regard, but they don't recognize the gifts and there's good things that come with age too, like wisdom. And anyway, so I don't care. Just like there shouldn't be a stigma around being old. So like there's a lot of elderly old people, and I'll just say elderly people, seniors, because it feels a bit off, because that's just the cultural convention here. And elderly people, seniors in Ecuador from Western countries, a lot of Americans in particular, living quite happily, and they have gone for this option to get residency. So they're just sort of living off retirement money from the state or pension funds in the US. I don't know quite how it works, but I met many people in the US doing that. There are options for these golden visas. You can put in money to buy land, like if you buy a certain amount of land, or a property, or you set up a business. If you can prove that you have a certain amount of passive income, there's a whole plethora of options. There's this, there are options. That's the point. And right now, how do I put this? The sooner the better, basically, because these countries, I believe they will fill up. I really believe we're at the left-hand side of a bell curve, and there's some mad person yelling of Polynesian descent. Not that matters, that you can just hear it from their accent, Māori, or I think some kind of mentally ill person screaming and ranting in the background and swearing. You might be able to hear that, so that's an interesting contrast. We've got the serenity and and beauty of this church courtyard Oh, by the way, the seat design, this is my dad's seat design. We First ones of these were in the garden of the house where I grew up in the late 90s, and he passed away on January 3rd, 2003. Now there's hundreds all over Wellington City. Yeah. Anyway, fun little aside. Cool part of his legacy. He was a great guy, but he was probably too good for many ways too good for this New Zealand, too good for this world. It's a fun little tangent though. Oh, he was definitely too good for New Zealand in its current form. He was such a nice guy, and it's so harsh. It was probably very hard on the family. When I was only 15 when he died. He was quite young. He was only 53, but looking back, it's weird. I'm happy for him because I love my dad. It's sad that he left, and the family never got over it. But he's in a better place, and I know he's somewhere where he will be happier. It's not a good place to be a true Christian here in New Zealand. It's very, very difficult, very, very tough. And I'm saying that as someone who's here only just to grab my stuff and get organised and then get the frick out of here and get to Spain. And mentally ill ramblings of a crazy person in the background are kind of a reminder of that. And that's quite a regular occurrence, by the way. Lots of homeless people on the street. These countries are already falling apart. And yeah, just screaming at the air and swearing like at the top of her lungs. I don't know. That's just normal now. And there's lots of homeless people. And all the signs are there. The justice system, the education system, the infrastructure, the military, like everything's falling apart here, man. It's just like it's already collapsing. And as this is in New Zealand, and like I'm speaking from New Zealand, dude. Like here, it's relatively mild. Like if you go on, if you don't have a job and you need money from the government, you can survive. It's not much, but you can survive on it. Like it's not the case I've heard in Canada and the UK and the US. It's much tougher there already. Australia is slightly better than New Zealand. We're like, wow, here on the periphery, down at the bottom of the world. It's still the West and the Anglo-Saxon countries are particular collapsing very quickly, but down here in the southern hemisphere, New Zealand and Australia, it's kind of getting to us later. But we can already see the collapse beginning, and you know, you don't already. There's an increasingly large number of people moving to countries like Ecuador from Western countries like the US, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and the UK. And I believe, yeah, we're at the left-hand side of the bell curve. It's going to go from. I'm going to put a link in the description box to something called the Technology Adoption Life Cycle. Have a look, click on that, and basically you want to get on the left-hand side of the bell curve in the stealth phase. Because, yeah, right now, a few years ago, I think it was a trickle. I would say now it's a stream of people moving to these countries. Soon it will turn into a river, I believe, then a flood, a tsunami, and then, yeah, like a tsunami in the end of people moving to these countries. Especially when the war ramps up, people will just be fleeing, and millions, I believe, will flee to South America, to these safe zone countries. And the point is, if you get in now on the early stage, the stealth phase, like the far left-hand side of the bell curve, it's going to be easier. The deals for golden residency, golden visas will be easier, more affordable. I do believe these countries at some point will have to shut their borders. They won't be able to take any more refugees. I mean, that's at some point in the future, right? We're talking years away, right? But regardless, land prices are still really good. You can get amazing. There are some deals I've seen in places like the south of Ecuador. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to share too many of the places because, well, I'm not going to say which specific regions of Ecuador because there are some that I really like, and that I'm not kidding. I'll be happy to share that information more freely and openly in the future after I've bought some land there myself first, because I don't want. And there are some places that are like hidden gems there that I would just never talk about on this channel because I don't want them to get overrun by people. But Ecuador's there's plenty of. There's enough land there for everyone. There's enough land there that everyone can get a good deal at this stage. Not even a good deal. We're talking bargain basement prices. You should see some of the properties that I've been looking at online recently. And I will say, without being too specific, certain parts of the south and the Amazon region, southern Andean and Amazon, interandean Amazon region of Ecuador, between the Andean highlands and the Amazon. Man, you can get pieces of land that look like the freaking Garden of Eden. Yeah. Should be used soon. Ideally. Leaving. Okay. That's a plane leaving Wellington Airport, leaving New Zealand. Man, yeah, like these properties are in a climatic zone, altitudes between, say, 700 meters, that's 22,100 feet, and like 1,600 meters, which is 4,800 feet above sea level. This is in the Goldilocks zone, dude. That's high enough that you're not getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, and it's stinking hot, but it's low enough that it doesn't get freezing cold at night, and you can grow crops and fruit and vegetables all year round. Like I lived in Vilcabamba in the south of Ecuador. People talk about that having one of the best habitable climates in the world. There's something like 32 different microclimates around Vilcabamba. You can grow all kinds of stuff. So easy to live, so easy to grow food, and to be self-sufficient. Oh gosh, I feel sorry for this woman, to be honest. It's a bit sad, really. Poor soul. Right. It is an odd contrast, though. The mad ravings of poor tortured soul, and the picturesque beauty of this church courtyard. But yeah, man, like you can get such good deals in Ecuador right now. It's not even bargains. It's like bargain basement, like below bargain level prices. It's just absurdly good deals on land that looks like the freaking Garden of Eden, and like just really nice. I don't know, man, just really nice people. Ecuadorians are much nicer than the people in the 5 Anglo-Saxon countries right now because of the spiritual degradation. I could definitely prefer Ecuadorians or people from Uruguay or Chile or Argentina or did I say Chile? Yeah, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, or Ecuador to people in these 5 countries at the moment because we're so spiritually sick. Such nice people, such beautiful land. You can get. I've had a look online. I haven't looked much at Argentina, but I've looked. You can get good deals in Chile. The deals aren't quite as good as those for Ecuador because it's a more developed country, but you can still get good deals, good pieces of land, good properties, and then the supply and demand, man. Like it's like if you get in earlier, like the prices will be lower, and yeah, potentially you can even buy a large piece of land and have put some aside for friends and family if you've got the means to. But basically, the earlier you get in, the better. Yeah, it's better to have something and not need it than to. It's better to have something and not need it than to need it and not have it. I haven't looked into South Africa, but this was just a gentle prepping reminder, a nudge, and yeah, I would. And look at it this way: you don't even necessarily have to. I'm not saying you need to even go there and buy the land or something. It could just be good to have a plan in place though, in case you need it. You see, if you see what I'm saying. But if you, I will say briefly before I end the video, if you do want to move to want to have this, create a plan B to move to one of these safe zone countries, what I recommend doing is visiting. Pick 1 or 2 countries, or however many it is that you're interested in, and this is partly contingent on how much money you have, for the travel costs and the accommodation costs, and then go date the country. You don't marry someone after the first date. That's what the courting process is for. So similar to when you move to a country, what I would recommend doing if you have the means available and the time and the money, just move to one of these countries, find the countries and regions you're interested in moving to, the cities, rural areas, whatever. Pick 1 or 2 or 3 places, regions, countries, whatever. Then go and live there for say 1 to 3 or 4 months in an Airbnb. Get a feel for each place. Do that for all the places you're interested in. Come back to your country, make your decision, then look at buying property and residency and stuff. But test the waters first. Otherwise, it's like diving off a bridge into a river without checking for logs. don't know if that's a sign that more planes leaving. It's God saying, backing out my message, get out. But yeah, it happens in New Zealand from time to time. Here, people dive off bridges into rivers or large streams in the summer without checking the water for hidden objects below, and they break their necks. So yeah, it's a recommended approach. It's your life, your decision, but I really don't think you'll regret having a plan B to get to one of these safe zone countries. All right, God bless. Thank you for your time. Cheers. In a little view around this courtyard.